Wrestling fans from around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marotti, joined by my partner in crime here. Before we get to the news, it's a hot July night. Check out some offers from our great friends before we get down to business.
Oh, yeah.
Are you part of a non-profit organization, a youth group looking to raise cash for your cause? Stay tuned at the end of this video to learn how you can bring the action and excitement of the Millennium Wrestling Federation to your town live, featuring the superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Have you ever thought about just how much time it takes to plan every detail of your wedding day? Many brides are now spending 10 to 15 hours each week planning the perfect day. It's like adding a part-time job to your already busy life. Not everyone can afford to hire a full-time wedding planner to help with every detail, which is why so many brides are now turning to a wedding day coordinator. That's right, a wedding day coordinator saves you money, and more importantly, it gives you the peace of mind that your special day will run smoothly. From finalizing all of the details you've worked so hard on to coordinating with vendors, KL Wedding Coordinators will be there every step of the way to guide you through the day and allow you to savor the memories that'll last a lifetime. For more information, visit facebook.com/KL Wedding Coordinators or give them a call, 603-320-2752.
Jacksonville on Monday, August 6th. The new era Monday Night Raw returns for the first time in 7 years with a double main event. Witness Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Bobby Lashley collide with Jinder Mahal, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn in a massive 6-man tag team match. Plus, Seth Rollins battles Elias for the Intercontinental Championship. It's WWE Raw live in Jacksonville Monday, August 6th. Tickets and ringside packages are available.
Wrestling fans around New England, WWE superstar The Boogeyman is coming to the Bullpen, 59 Hanover Street in Lebanon, New Hampshire, Sunday afternoon, August the 26th, for an interactive meet and greet, autographs, and posed photos. Visit thebullpennh.com to take advantage of this rare opportunity to meet the man from the bottomless pit. Lebanon, The Boogeyman is coming to get ya live.
I think WrestleMania 1 is what got Vince McMahon started. That's it. The buildup of that, everything about it, the timing, everything worked together. You know, even their enemies, Ted Turner, were helping us because every other word they would say something about F. I mean, yeah, the thing you do is don't say nothing about your enemy.
Right.
They didn't. So they made us even better.
Yep.
They cut their own throat. No, I don't think, whatever her name is, Cyndi Lauper and all those people in that, all it did is give it that little glitter, but did it help? They come out there to see a show, buddy, and they got it.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome back. I am very happy to be joined by my good friend, the two-time Hall of Famer,
Tony Atlas. Well, I'm glad you invited me back, Dan, because they wanted to lock me up the other day because I went and had this IQ test, and they told me if my IQ was 1 point less, I would be a banana. They were going to give me a blood test, and I stayed up all night to study for bada boom, bada bang.
All right, Tony, it's Tuesday night, July the 31st. WWE SmackDown Live is going to be going across the globe from Amalie Arena in Tampa, Florida. The response to the Memories and Legends episodes you've been on has been so great. We can't wait until SummerSlam weekend. We're going to have not one but 2 full episodes SummerSlam weekend because WWE has both SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver, but the fans wanted just a small snippet, of Tony Atlas as we prepare for the big documentary-style episodes. Tony, again, before we get there, we got to remind you, take advantage of some of the great offers we have over on BostonWrestling.com. We have the Patreon coming soon, where you can get all access to everything MWF. We have the great DVDs back there, including the one about a gentleman we just lost
Big Van Vader,
Big
Leon
Van
White.
Vader, yeah.
I tell you, we love to do these productions. I think if we're able to ever get to a certain point with the assistance of the fans, Tony, I'm sure you'd be happy to come down every week if we could make it happen.
Yes, I would. And first, I would like to thank you, Dan, and Boston Wrestling, because one thing that a lot of fans seem to forget, we ain't gonna be around forever. I mean, when I look back on guys that I sat and talked to just last year alone, I mean, just about every year we lose 2 or 3 wrestlers. Vader,
yep.
Ronnie Piper. You know, in 2010, I lost my best friend, S.D. Jones. So there's very few. Me and our Brutus, the Barber, Beefcake were talking 2 weeks ago, and we're always so happy to see each other because there's very few of us is left. You know, it just seemed like yesterday that I was in Legend House, WWE Legend House, with Rodney and Ronnie Piper. And now Piper is not around anymore to tell his story. He's not around anymore to sign autographs. He's not around anymore to meet and greet the fan. So thanks to the good work of Boston Wrestling and Dan Morella here, you know, you're able to see, you know, us, you know, and it would not be possible. I mean, Tony Atlas would be probably forgotten about if it wasn't for Boston Wrestling.
I don't know if I'd go that far, Tony.
Well,
You're a two-time
you know,
Hall
out
of
of
Famer.
sight, out of mind. But
All
I mean, people are able to tune in to Boston Wrestling. They're able to hear some of the old stories that a lot of the guys, like some of the stories I tell, the wrestlers today, they was babies. Just like Roman Reigns. You know, his father,
You wrestled his father,
yeah,
Sika.
his Sika, one of the Wild Samoan Sikas, was traveling up and down the road with us, and way before Roman Reigns was even born. You know, and like The Rock, you know, I used to sit in the dressing room and babysit Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, with me and his father. You know, we was on tour together. I remember he was a kid. But, you know, a lot of us, like me, Rocky Johnson, you know, we get up in age, so it makes us feel good that we could come to a program like this where people can hear about the way wrestling were back in our day. Kind of like if you get out here, the Rolling Stones to sit here to tell music fans how it was to travel in the days when the Rolling Stones first started their career. And when they first did things. So it's a great history lesson of pro wrestling and athlete. So once again, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Boston Wrestling, for giving us the opportunity to tell our stories.
I appreciate that an awful lot, more than you know, Tony. I think, you know, WWE does a great job with the
Wonderful
documentaries
job.
they put
Yeah.
together, but the problem is they pick and choose who they want to feature, who they
right.
can make the most money off of.
Exactly.
At the same time, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of athletes that have driven those roads, that have
Yeah.
worked all over the globe, that have stories that they can share with the fans. And what I want to do is, one of my missions in my time in wrestling, is to try and document as many of those athletes in their stories as
Right.
possible. Because as we just said, and you know, there's been a few guys in the studio that have been here that are no longer with us. And it's important to me that we're able to do that. And again, I'd like to do it every week, but we need fan support in order to
Yes.
make it happen. The studio productions are expensive, the accommodations, hotels, airfare, everything that goes into it. We like to do as much as we can for free, but we need a little help, if you know what I mean. Right, Tony?
Yes, because a lot of wrestlers, they have, in later years in their life, they fell into what you call hard times. And so programs like this help us to get booked
Right.
and they keep us alive. So when you support Boston Wrestling, you're not just supporting Boston Wrestling, you're supporting our old wrestlers like Hulk Hogan, the Iron Sheik, Brutus the Barber, Beefcake, Greg Valentine, and number of wrestlers. You know, a lot of wrestlers like Ox Baker, who was a very, very good friend of mine, and he has so many great stories, and his brain was sharp as a tack, and he has so much to offer the wrestling business, but because he came along a little bit too early for Boston Wrestling, he was not able to get the recognition that I'm getting now that I really appreciate. And he was not able to get the bookers and live out the last few years of his life out of poverty. So,
As he should have.
As he should have, but he lived in poverty, and because people have forgotten about him. And he could tell you stories about Bruno Sammartino, Ed Killer Kowalski. And Killer Kowalski was another
one. I wish we had him at the studio
right,
before he passed,
that the world have seemed to forgotten about. And these are the guys that really are the foundation. I came along in the middle, around the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but there was a 50s and the 60s. that people
Sure was.
that people forget about. When wrestling first came on television, I believe it was the late 50s, early 60s.
One of the first premier television shows when there were only 3 networks, the
only-
Dumont Network.
That's right, the old Dumont. And so most of these guys, people don't remember them. You know, like
But they have
Wahoo
stories
McDaniel.
that need to be told.
Yes, and there was territory. Like you just mentioned the WWE there a while back. WWE is great for doing stories on people that work with the WWE.
Right. And they
But
do
if-
a great job at it.
a wonderful job. But if you work for the AWA or the NWA like Wahoo McDaniel did and Paul Jones, you would not get that recognition. Like Bob Armstrong, he never worked with WWF,
Right.
but he was down south, and Rufus R. Freight Train Jones, even the great ones like Bobo Brazil. You never see anything on Bobo. And Bobo traveled the whole world in Japan. He was known all over the world way before. He was, I would say, one of the first African American wrestlers that was world known, like Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys get left out of things because they didn't come along in the 80s. If you talk to most people, except for on Boston wrestling, every time somebody talk about wrestling, they always start in the 90s.
Yeah.
And you did a wonderful episode not too long ago about the 80s.
Yep.
Where most of these young people that watch wrestling, they wasn't around in the 80s.
Right.
So when you talk about the 80s, to them, it's like talking about the Civil War.
Right.
You know, because it seemed that long ago. But it wasn't, because I lived through it.
You lived through it. All right, Tony. Nostalgia is hot right now. Everybody loves the nostalgia. But in these short little snippets we're going to do as we lead into our 2 big full-length episodes SummerSlam weekend, the fans have sent along some questions. This one that I thought might be of interest is your thoughts about how WWE, for the very first time, Sunday night, October the 28th, is going to be presenting an all-women's pay-per-view for the first time ever called WWE Evolution.
Well, the WWE just made me eat my words, because for the past 10 years, if you look back on some of the interviews that I have talked about, and I even written in my book, Too Much Too Soon, written by Scott Teal. You can order my book at crowbarpress.com, but Too Much Too Soon, I've written my book when they asked me about racism. Did I see a lot of racism in pro wrestling? I told them, no, I didn't see a lot of racism in pro wrestling, but I saw a lot of sexism. I noticed that the women, I think I told you the story about when they had a big event, and I flew in, Andre the Giant flew in, Terry Funk and flew in, both of the Funk's brothers flew in, Dusty Rhodes flew in. Moolah had to drive, and she was the world champion for women. So women, I got to give WWE credit. WWE is the first organization since I've been into the world of pro wrestling that is giving women the same opportunity that they give the guys, and I think it's wonderful.
Tony, do you think
First time that women, that men and women, have got that much recognition.
Well, Tony, WWE has really pushed the women hard in recent years. They've tried to present them more as athletes, which I like an awful lot, as opposed to just sex symbols. Tony, my worry is, and I think I might get a couple of bullets for this one, but I've got to be honest, I think WWE is starting to over-push it. And I think the reason it's being over-pushed right now is because while they have their tremendous NXT Performance Center down in Orlando, Florida, there was a big gap from when they had quality training in Ohio Valley to moderate training in Tampa to the super high quality, world-class training they have right now in Orlando. And there's a gap as far as a period of time when they had a lot of quality athletes coming up onto the roster. I think there was a necessity to try and fill the void to some point, and they did that with some of the great female athletes like Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, we've seen Asuka recently, Nia Jax, who's a fantastic big lady. Do you think, you speak with the fans every weekend when you're out on the road, are they happy with this women's evolution, or do you think it's been pushed a little too much?
Well, I don't think it's been pushed too much, simply because Vince McMahon came up with the idea. When they first came up with The Undertaker, all those old-time wrestlers, we figured it was the silliest thing in the world, that it would never work. It would never work. Who's going to believe that a dead man could wrestle and walk? Came to be the biggest thing that Vince sees the future. And one of the things that a lot of people ignore over the years, every child had what they call a superhero. And you started naming all the superheroes: Batman, Superman, the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. and you keep on naming this man, that man, this man, that man, then finally, when you get at the bottom of the barrel, a word pop up, okay, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman for many, many, many generations have been the only female superhero. So, John Cena, Mark Henry, Roman Reigns, all of them are great models for your sons. But what if you got a daughter? Who
Great
can your
point.
daughter look up to? Your daughter can't be John Cena. Your daughter would never be Hulk Hogan. Your daughter would never be Brutus the Barber, Beefcake, or Greg Valentine. But your daughter could be China. Your daughter could be what that lady that knocked people out, that blonde-headed lady, the UFC
Ronda
lady.
Rousey.
Ronda Rousey. You see what I'm saying? I think she's a great example. And one of the most professional ladies I ever met in my entire life in pro wrestling was Natalia Neidhart.
Oh, isn't she great?
She's a wonderful athlete, strong as a bull, beautiful, very intelligent, and very professional. But now people gonna get to know the women. We had like Moolah, we had Mae Young. God bless her, Mae Young and Moolah was in their 60s before they got recognized. Most of a male wrestler, by the time they got back in their 30s, they was well known. Moolah had to wait till she was in her 60s before she got into recognition. So for the young women that coming up, women do not have superheroes to look up to. So Vince see that voids that. It's been a void how you gonna keep women's interest in wrestling? Yeah, you could put out guys, but after a while, when these young girls grow up, they can't imitate a John Cena. They can't imitate The Undertaker. They can't imitate Brock Lesnar.
I tell you, the one that I think is fantastic for the young girls is Bailey, the one that likes to give the hugs when she comes out and they have the...
I ain't all that into women's hugging. My wife would kill me from them hugging.
Wait a minute, Tony. Come on now. I'm not talking like that.
Beat up.
What do you think your name is?
You tell that Billy, you keep them hugs. My wife would hug me with her knuckles.
You've been beaten up enough, but that's a different story.
But that's a different type of beating.
That's absolutely.
They got to have the big rubber boots.
WWE faced a lot of backlash.
How do you like a woman to step on your face?
Not me. We'll save that for you, buddy.
Okay.
WWE received backlash when they had the big event in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia back in April. A giant financial success for the company, but the Saudi Arabian officials would not allow the women to compete on the show. I think
that's what makes America so great.
Well, this happened in Saudi Arabia.
Exactly, but with stuff happening in another country like that, it shows the ladies of America how fortunate that they live in here in the United States of America than living in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Because the women get respect here, they get opportunity here, and Vince McMahon is giving the women the same opportunity to become great superstars as they gave. You know, in my whole lifetime, there's only been 2 women that really, in the younger days, got a good push, and that's Wendy Richter and China. That's it. That's it. You know, it started in the 90s, in the 80s with Wendy Richter.
Yeah.
And Wendy Richter was part of the cartoons, and she was the first female woman hero. I mean, she was on the cartoon with Hulk Hogan and Junkyard Dog, and so she was the.
It was very short-lived, though.
But still, she broke the glass ceiling.
Well, and
Me
then
and Rocky Johnson, our championship was very short-lived also, but we broke the glass ceiling.
I'm just talking about the prominent feature of where Wendy Richter was. She was one of the semi-main events at the very first WrestleMania.
That's
she was
right.
attached
That's
at the
right.
hip
That's right.
with Cyndi Lauper. My worry, Tony, is you got to go back now almost 13 years. SummerSlam 2005. You took John Cena, who was as white hot could be, but the diehards began to have enough of him. And at SummerSlam 2005, he worked Chris Jericho. And the backlash, that's where it began from the diehard fans to this booing, the hatred that they had for John Cena. My worry, Tony, is that if it doesn't happen October 28th sometime soon, you're going to go into a hardcore city like New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Baltimore, Boston, wherever it may be, and the diehard fans are going to lace them, and it's going to be brutal, and it's going to carry over to other shows, because as we've seen with chants and cheers in the past, that's what usually happens. One city starts it, then the other ones think it's a lot of fun. They try and do the same thing at the TV tapings, and it could get ugly. And to be fair, I have said this now for a couple of years, and it hasn't happened yet. And I think that's a testament to the great ladies that WWE has on the roster right now. But if it does happen, you're talking about sensitive women in a sensitive day and age in life in general. I mean, just look at what's on the news and on social media every day. Do you think it could get ugly for these women if that happens?
Well, this is my my thought on that.
All right.
Anybody that could go through 14 hours of labor to deliver a child on this earth, I don't think there's a wrestling fan out there that could stop a female from doing what she want to do if she's really determined. There was backlash when me and Rocket won the title. There was backlash when Martin Luther King marched in the streets of Selma. The movers and shakers always, but what they're doing, they're breaking that glass ceiling. It might be rough on these group of women, but they open up the door for so many young girls out there.
Future generations.
I got a daughter, I got granddaughter. So what these women are going through it, not just for themselves, but to break that glass ceiling and open up the door for more and more female wrestlers in the future. So I think that women have waited a long time for this opportunity. And there's the people that still feel like, I go to the gym, there's still a lot of people that feel that women should not lift weights. But most of the gym will close up if you lose your women membership. Women, it's coming along a long ways, and they never had the opportunity in sports. Like you take the past Olympic, America would have very few medals if it wasn't for the women's team.
Right, very true.
You know, for a long time, I never watched tennis, but then when I see the Williams sister play, I have to watch them. I mean, the two most amazing females you ever want to see in your life. And Rousey, I mean, she got to be with a tough woman like that is able to go out there and knock people out, and do what she do, and some of the outstanding women could do just as good as men in any sport given the opportunity.
And I'll throw this one at you, Tony, and this is my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people won't agree with it, but I'd love to see the women have their own TV show. With the amount of time that WWE has each and every week to present on the USA Network and next year coming to the Fox Network, I'd love to see an hour-long women's show. Then you don't take away from the fans that enjoy the quote-unquote standard flag wrestling as we've seen for generations with the men. I think the women are overdone right now. And again, I think it's because WWE hasn't done a great job. Previous to the NXT generation, they didn't do a great job of grooming the talent of now. And I think as far as the males go on the roster, I think there's slim pickings. There's not enough of them right now, and they need the women. I'd rather see the women get their own show, be given a great platform to get themselves over, than WWE Creative almost forced to have to do something creative with the guys and create a new generation of male stars to replace, like I said, what was missing from that giant gap between Ohio Valley and then until they started to invest a tremendous sum of money in Orlando.
One of the things that the WWE ran into that they probably didn't see coming, back in the days of territories, we had territories. At Harley Race and Ric Flair, they would go to every territory to wrestle.
Right.
By the time it took Harley Race, for everybody to see Harley Race wrestle, it took about 2 years.
Right.
And then you never saw the same wrestlers all the time.
It's overexposed now.
Right. Well, they don't have that. They don't have as many they don't have the replacements. Like for example,
there's not enough variety.
Right, because you get to see the same people
every
all the time.
Week.
And in the entertainment
they wrestle
business,
on TV
the
every
same
week.
People.
There's no reason to go out of your way to watch a television show if you know you're going to see the same guys
people.
And a lot of times the same matches every week. And I think there's fans that are tired of it right
WWE
now.
was a much better program when WCW was alive, because at least
they were lighting the fire under them.
Right. Yeah. You could see different people, but when you got the same program, it's like listen to the same song over and over and over and over and over, and they don't have enough. Like Harley Race, in a year time, will wrestle 300 different wrestlers in 1 year. The WWE champion be lucky if he wrestled more than 5 different guys, because they don't have as many people in position to go against the WWE champion. Where Harley Race, when he came to Georgia, the first time he wrestled me, he come back to Georgia the second time it's Tommy Rich. Come back again,
Right.
he wrestled against wrestling number 2. Come back again, he's against Bob Armstrong. Then he would go to Charlotte and wrestle Wahoo, and then he wrestled one of the Anderson brothers. So every time he walked into the ring, it was a different opponent. So you always want to see Harley Race. Same thing with Ric Flair. You always want to see Ric Flair, because Ric Flair very rarely, except for the long run he had with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, that was and that was only about a year run. You know, him and Steamboat probably had the longest run of people that wrestled. I think Steamboat wrestled Flair more than anybody that I know. I know Wahoo had a lot of matches with him, but Ric Flair was always in the ring. He would go to Japan and wrestle different wrestlers. So when you had a world champion back then, he was always so interested to see him, because first of all, you didn't see him all the time. I mean, whenever he came to town, that was a big deal, the world champion in town. Now you flip on your TV, you see the world champion every night.
Well, you know what? We're really going off the rails with this one. But Brock Lesnar, a lot of people complain that he's not around that much. I think that's great. It gives you a reason to want to tune in. I'd keep the belt on him for years if it was me.
That's
you know
how
what
it
I mean?
was to know that. You don't see the world champion every day.
I don't want to make this seem like a hit piece on WWE. I'll say this. If you tune in once or twice a month to watch a WWE TV show, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
If you go out to the live events and buy a ticket, it's a phenomenal live event experience.
Yes.
But, Tony, if you try and tune in and watch it every week, it's maddening sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think WWE should want people to want to tune in every week.
Because they keep the same people, they just change the names.
Right. All right, Tony, getting back to the women, we got to wrap this segment up.
Women.
Are they going to do?
Tony like women.
Are they going to do a big business at Nassau Coliseum? You see a sellout?
Yes.
Do you see the fans reacting positively throughout the entire show?
Very positive. Yes.
Do you think there'll be as much of a positive reaction if they do a second one?
I think this is just the beginning of something wonderful, because it never been done before.
Would you turn it into an annual attraction?
Yes.
I agree with you on that one.
54% of the electoral vote is female.
Right.
There's more women in America than men.
Right.
So why if look at all the superheroes, like when you buy these action figures.
Yeah.
You see a bunch of males. Very, very rarely you see a female action figure.
Right.
So the women, it's coming. It's a new age. It's a new day. The women are the only people in America. We have gave minorities the same opportunity that we gave non-minorities, but the women were still not taken care of. And in sports, women should get the same recognition as men. They should not only do it in wrestling, they should do it in football, they should do it in basketball, and they should do it in baseball. How come we don't have a professional woman baseball team? How come we don't have a professional women basketball team?
They do. They have the WNBA.
Yeah, but they don't show it.
What do you mean they don't show it?
I've never seen it.
Do you have cable?
I got cable.
All right, Tony, you think it's going to be a big success, WWE Evolution?
I sure do.
I think when you have a powerhouse draw like Ronda Rousey, I think it definitely sells out the first time.
Not just Ronda Rousey. I mean, you got a whole, Mick and
You
James.
think if you take Ronda Rousey off of that show, you think that pay-per-view sells out the Nassau Coliseum?
Yes.
I don't think so.
This is the reason why I say that. Because the WWE, the last time that the WWE built the territory around one person was Bruno Sammartino. Vince is too smart and to have Ronda Rousey being the number one, where he can't draw no money without her. He would not do that. That is the whole team. Ronda Rousey by herself will not bring the interest, because every fan, cause I got a buddy, man, to him, Mickey James walk on gold. We all got our favorite. Now,
Ronda
all the
Rousey's
women,
a mainstream attraction. There's not one female wrestler in WWE other than her that's a mainstream attraction.
If I had a choice to watch any woman wrestler, it would be it would be Charlotte Flair.
She's great, but I don't think she's enough to sell out Nassau Coliseum.
Under the right condition, yes. If she got the same push as they do with the guys, if they do the same thing with the women that they do with the guys, yes. Put them in commercial, send them around, get them movie parts, get them this. When they was pushing Hulk Hogan, when I was pushing Hulk Hogan, people don't realize it wasn't wrestling that built Hogan. Vince used Hogan in other things to develop him in wrestling. First it started with the movies, and then from the movie it went to commercials. And Hogan was always on something, cereal boxes, he on this, ice cream pop. I mean, they put him on everything. I mean, Hulk Hogan t-shirt and merchandise was simply everywhere. So people got to know him even if they didn't watch wrestling.
Even if they watch wrestling. And that's why they know Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is a mainstream celebrity. I'll say this in closing. You know, I am not the world's biggest women's wrestling fan. I like it in moderation. I would rather see them have maybe 6 to 8 women that are true phenomenons in the ring and get rid of the rest. My opinion. I hope it's a great success because that's good. That's good for the industry and that's good for the business.
It's good for the industry.
And if we can continue to cultivate the business and continue to create more jobs, that leads to more promotions, more wrestling fans buying tickets and merchandise, puts more money in everybody's wallet. So knock on wood. I hope they knock it out of the park October the 28th. I'm just worried at that fan response.
And to me, WWE is doing more than any sport in America.
All right, well, Tony, we're out of time here. We're going to be back with a special mini episode next Monday night before Raw. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk a little about the response to the Bruiser Brody episode we produced last month during Extreme Rules Weekend. For the Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, I'm Dan Marotti. Don't forget, check out @MWF Project X on Twitter, BostonWrestling.com. We get great merchandise everywhere to help the cause. We'd love to do these shows weekly, twice a week. We could turn you into the next Bill O'Reilly. I'll forget I saw that.
Who's that?
Well, I don't know. That's a man that, you know what Titus O'Neil reminds me of?
What?
You know when you see kids playing in the summertime, they try and wrestle in the pool? He's so slow. He reminds me of someone that's running underwater.
Titus O'Neil?
Titus O'Neil.
I'll make sure I tell him that.
All right, thank you. For Tony Atlas, I'm Dan Marotti. We'll see you next time. Good night. I'm Dan Marotti.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Let us tell you how the action and excitement of the Millennium Wrestling Federation can help raise cash for your nonprofit cause. Experience the action and excitement of the Millennium Wrestling Federation live in your city, throughout New England, the tri-state area, down through the Carolinas, out to our friends in the Midwest and beyond.
If your nonprofit organization is looking for an interactive turnkey experience while putting the fun into fundraising, you've met the perfect tag team partner to work with every step of the way.
The MWF offers a variety of packages for groups of almost any size, from our live events at the Boston Garden, the Kowloon Entertainment Dining Complex, and the legendary Suffolk Downs, to high school gyms and function halls. We've presented live events everywhere and anywhere.
Since 2001, the MWF's mission has been simple: keep the kids off the streets. Under the leadership of President David Reese, we bring the superstars of yesterday, today, and tomorrow to your town. Not for a wrestling show, but an event that features action-packed in-ring wrestling, autograph, pose photo opportunities, Q&A sessions, and so much more. It's the best of sports and entertainment. The week of your event, we can add on to the endeavor with anti-bullying campaigns, library meet and greet reads, youth sport concussion seminars, and more.
Our live events are fit for fans of any age from 5 to 95. This fall is part of our new Kids Club program. We offer live event experiences exclusively for the youngest of fans. On the flip side, we can produce a tailor-made event for fans of an older demographic as well. We work with you every step of the way to get the word out to fans near and far on our local television offerings and to over 50,000 fans and growing on our social media platforms.
Your success is our success. If your group has had enough of candy bar and wrapping paper sales and has the energy to team with our passionate fan base, bringing the NWF experience to your community is the answer to put smiles on faces while raising cash for your cause.
Contact us today to get the ball rolling for your custom-made event that you'll want to bring back year after year to your community.
Don't just take it from us. Here are the folks we've teamed up with in the past.